So this is my second attempt creating this video or recording this video. My first intention when it came to this video was to actually create a video on all of the things that I manifested on my travels over the summer, but it turned out to be a lot longer than I had anticipated. So we're just going to create a video right now on all the things that I manifested when I was in Ireland, which is actually the last trip that I just came back from. And so my main intention when it comes to this video is it's kind of like a fun video to share what I manifested when I was in Ireland. It's fresh in my mind. I feel like I'm coming back on a high from it. Where my family and I are very Irish, and so we have a lot of culture there. It feels very much like home to me. My grandmother immigrated from Ireland, and so it was a really great experience. And I wanted to create today's video to just talk about some of the little things that I manifested in Ireland. And right off the bat, too, when it comes to this video, there wasn't really a big manifestation that I was trying to get out of Ireland other than just having an enjoyable experience there. And I definitely got that. So the big manifestation definitely came to fruition. But I wanted to also talk about some of the little things that I manifested along the way in my experience in Ireland. And there isn't really any other point to this video other than just sharing some of the fun things that I manifested. So without further ado, let's get into some of the things that I manifested when I was in Ireland. So right off the bat, one of the big things when it came to just traveling to Ireland, there were some concerns, and I don't even want to use the word concern. It wasn't really a concern, but I have traveled to Europe before, and I remember I was in high school when I went to Europe, and I remember the actual act of traveling across the Atlantic Ocean not being the most fun. I personally do not like to be confined to a small space for large periods of time. I'm someone who likes to move a lot, and I remember, at least my last experience with traveling to Europe, the plane ride was not the most fun for me. You're kind of sitting in a plane, not moving, trying to entertain yourself, or at least maybe fall asleep so you can wake up, at your destination, right? And also not including jet lag and everything like that. So one of my first big intentions when it came to this trip was actually having a very enjoyable plane ride over to Europe or to Ireland. And not only that, but I wanted to get there without any jet lag, and I wanted to get there with a lot of energy, which was, again, something that I didn't really experience my first time going to Europe. And I didn't really do anything specific to manifest this. It was just an intention that I knew I could have, but the plane ride itself was one of the most enjoyable experiences that I had. I manifested aisle seats. I manifested, getting up and, being able to just kind of move around when I wanted to on the plane. The trip over was a completely different experience than when I had first gone over to Europe when I was a teenager. And so that was kind of my first minor win when it came to actually traveling to Ireland. The plane ride over was just very enjoyable. And not only that, but when I got there, I was a little tired, but within the first night, I got plenty of sleep that night, and I felt like I almost immediately adjusted over to the time zone. I didn't really experience jet lag. For the most part, I had a lot of energy throughout the entire trip, which was something that I was very grateful for, because if you're someone who travels and knows the experience of jet lag, it's not the most fun to feel tired, but also be traveling at the same time. And so that was my first win when it came to manifesting. Manifesting not only an enjoyable plane ride over to Ireland, but also not experiencing that jet lag. Also along the lines of actually traveling and getting to our place in Ireland. So we were staying in Galway, Ireland, right? And so when we landed at the airport, we actually landed in Dublin, and we needed to basically take transportation to a train station, which then was going to take us to Galway. And so our first goal to get to our Airbnb in Galway was to actually get a taxi cab to the train station, right? Now, I was traveling with a kind of big group. We were 8 people in total, and we needed to somehow find a cab that would take all of us to the train station, which I think was about a half an hour away, 20 to 30 minutes away, right? Now, when we went up to the taxi, the lines of the taxis, we were met with someone who basically told us that we were not going to get a taxi that was going to fit all these people. The taxis that were coming up were smaller cars. So maybe max 4 people were going to fit in the car. So what we decided to do was basically split up the group, right? We were going to travel in twos or travel in different groups, right? Now, when we got up to the taxi people, I remember consciously putting out the intention, no, I would like to actually manifest a cab that can fit 8 people in total. And even though we're being told that, we're not probably going to get a cab that can fit 8 people. So we walk up to this guy. This is after I make the intention, right? Like I wasn't doing anything specific with this manifestation either. I just put out the intention. I'm like, no, I want a cab where we don't have to worry about like finding other people. We are all traveling to the train station together, right? We walk up to the cab guy, right? And we tell him we have 8 people and we tell him, we can split up if needed or whatever. And so he's like, okay. He's like, all of you just walk down to the end of that like line down there or whatever and wait. So we all walked down as a group, and I kid you not, the next taxi cab that came by it was like a van basically. And we all got to travel to the train station in one group, right? And so that was just another small manifestation that I got when it came to manifesting what I wanted on this trip. You'll probably notice too, along like the little stories that I have with this trip, a lot of it was very much just putting out an intention and then kind of going with the flow of things. And that's when you really, narrow down manifesting. If you want to start manifesting as like a lifestyle or manifesting as like, a daily practice, most of the time it's putting out an intention, going with the flow. Putting out an intention, going with the flow, going with what you are given. So again, this was another experience where I put out an intention and I got back reflection, even though at the beginning, we were being told that we weren't going to actually get what we wanted, right? Now, another manifestation that I got when it came to Ireland was actually manifesting different weather, all right? So when we were traveling to Ireland before the trip, we were looking up the weather to see what we were supposed to pack, right? And it basically said that it was going to be raining the entire time that we were there, which I personally was very happy about. I like Ireland in the rain. It feels very much like Ireland when it is raining. That's just a personal preference of mine. And I actually was not unhappy that that was what we were going to be getting until we actually got to Ireland and we realized that the event that we were going there for was going to be outdoors. So we were going to Galway, Ireland for an oyster shucking competition. I actually had nothing, I did not know anything about this oyster shucking competition. This was something that my family was kind of like into. And it's basically people or different countries, I think there's 15 countries, they come to Ireland, Galway, Ireland, and they have this oyster shucking competition. And so there's someone from the USA. I think his name was Honor Allen. He's got his own well, it's not his TV show, but there's a TV show that he's in with oyster shucking. I literally find all of this out like the day of the oyster shucking competition. I don't watch really TV that much, but my whole point here is that we were going for an oyster shucking competition, which is like different countries, 50 different countries come and they compete with how fast and how cleanly and how accurately they can shuck an oyster. Like I said, when it came to the weather, I was beyond happy that it was going to be raining in Ireland. I like the rain. I like the rain in Ireland more. So it was kind of a win for me. But like I said, this competition was actually supposed to be outside. And not only that, but there was like a parade involved. And the way that it played out was we became part of the parade and we paraded down to the place where they were holding the competition. It was a lot of outside movement, we could say. And so the day of the competition, I realized, I'm like, you know what? I don't think I really want to be standing in the rain. Turns out too, we were doing a lot of walking and standing. Like the competition itself, we waited there's one part where they had judges inside a building basically analyzing and judging the oysters that were shucked. And so we were standing there for a solid hour, just waiting for these judges to make their decision. And so looking back in hindsight, I'm really glad that it did not rain. But I remember after finding out that there was going to be a lot of rain in Ireland, I remember specifically being like, you know what? I actually don't want rain on this particular day because it wouldn't be the most fun to be standing out in the rain and walking in the rain for 5+ hours. So what ended up happening was we got the most perfect weather that day, even though it was previously there was an 80% chance of rain the entire day. We actually got, it was sunshine. There were some clouds that kind of covered the sun so we weren't in direct sunlight, but there was a cool breeze. It was a beautiful day. So that was another little manifestation that I got when it came to manifesting really nice weather for this particular day with the oyster shucking competition. I actually love manifesting weather changes, and going off on a little bit of a tangent when it comes to manifesting weather, one of my favorite things to manifest is rain. Whenever I'm in the mood for rain, I will actively manifest rain. Over the summer, I manifested rain so many times, where we were supposed to get these really hot summers or really hot summer days. And I remember just being I don't want to sit in the hot summer. I would love to have rain. I like rain. I think rain might be one of my favorite weather phenomenons. I manifested a lot of rain during the summer, even though it said on the Weather Channel 0% chance. So it was kind of I had a lot of confidence in my ability to manifest a day that there was no rain because I could manifest days where there was rain with 0% chance. I ended up getting that as well when it came to manifesting this perfect weather for this competition. So long story short, at first I wanted rain, but then the day of the competition came and I was like, you know what? I don't want rain. And I manifested the day without rain. Another fun little manifestation that I got when it came to another like traveling aspect of like moving around Ireland. So we were mostly staying in Galway, Ireland, but on the last day, we decided to switch our plans a little bit and stay our last night in Dublin, which was actually really fun. I'm really glad we did it that way because we were basically flying out of Dublin the next morning and we just thought it'd be like easier for the logistics, right? So last minute, we decided to book an Airbnb in Dublin and leave our Airbnb in Galway. Well, the day comes where we actually have to get on the train and go back to Dublin. So we get on the train, we go back to Dublin, and we get out in Dublin. And now we have the fun adventure of trying to find our new Airbnb, right? Which was actually not that. It was only like 10 minutes away. We basically walked to it, right? And we were doing great. Like I said, it was not that far away from the train station, but there came a point where there was just a lot of alleyways, a lot of different turns, right? And we were following our GPS like on our phone. It led us astray essentially. And so it got to a point where we were very close to the Airbnb, but we were kind of lost in some alleyways. I think it was because like on the Airbnb instructions, they said don't plug it into to Google Maps because Google Maps didn't know where this was. You had to like follow very specific instructions, like, you know, take your left, right, like kind of like the old fashioned way of finding your way in a new space. But we ended up getting lost, like very close to our Airbnb. And so it got to the point where we were kind of lost for a few minutes, which doesn't sound that long, but when you're lost with your luggage in a new like place, it's kind of like, you're like, I just want to get to the Airbnb, right? I remember just thinking like, we need to ask for help. We had been making these turns, kind of getting more lost. And I remember we were like in the middle of the sidewalk too. Like people are kind of like walking by us and, you know, we're in the way. It was like some people's like luggages were falling. We were the cobblestones. Like it was just kind of like, it was minorly chaotic, right? So in my mind, I'm like, you know what? We need to ask for help. We need to actually find someone who knows where we are and help us point us in the right direction. I kid you not. As soon as I had that thought, there was a woman who walked right by us. And as I was thinking that, I finished thinking that thought, I swear, this woman turns around, looks at me, and she's like, do you need help? And I was like, we do need help. Yes, that would be great. Like, we're trying to get to this place. Can you like lead us in the right direction? She was so sweet. She helped us get to her. She was like, oh yeah, you just take like a left and a right up there and you're basically there, right? And we're like, oh my gosh, thank you. But I love that one. I like that story a lot because I literally just thought the thought. And I swear, some random person in my reality just turned around and was like reflected back to me, do you need help? Like, I'm here to help you. So that was actually another fun little like win too when it came to like the travels of like going to our new place in Ireland, our new Airbnb. Let's see. I have a whole list here. So if I'm like looking at my computer screen because I wrote down some like all the little things that I manifested. There's also some smaller manifestations that I had. Some people may not see this as a manifestation, but for me, it was a manifestation. I remember putting out the intention as well that I wanted to get a couple nice Irish sweaters, some Aran sweaters, which again, this may not seem like a big manifestation, but for me, it was kind of a win because whenever I get myself like a sweater, sometimes they're not always the best fitting or they don't flatter my body or, you know, like I'm kind of picky about the clothes that I wear. And so I didn't just want like an authentic Aran like sweater. I wanted a sweater that looked really nice on me. And what ended up happening was I actually got more than I wanted. So we ended up finding like a sweater shop, which is not necessarily hard to find in Ireland. But we go to the shop, right? And I knew I wanted a sweater, but I didn't know what type of sweater that I wanted. So what ended up happening was I was in the store and I ended up stumbling upon these clans, the Irish surname clans, which if you're not familiar with this, basically Ireland has these like, how do I explain it? Like surnames like O'Leary or O'Connor, like any type of surname that is like an Irish surname, sometimes it has like a clan attached to it. So it has like a coat of arms and stuff like that. And my middle name is actually a last name. It's a family name. And so like it's very much an Irish, like it's a part of me. I love my middle name. It makes me feel connected to my heritage. And so long story short, I ended up stumbling upon this like section of this like sweater store where there were these sweaters made and stitched with the clan, we could say like symbols in them. What ended up happening was I found a sweater stitched with this stitching that represented my clan name. And so I did end up getting my perfect Irish sweater. The sweater fit me beautifully. And not only that, but I also had another impulse buy. I was at the register and I was like, the woman was wearing another like Irish sweater. And I was like, oh my gosh, wait, like where did you get that sweater? Like I really want it. And she was like, oh, this is like in the men's section. So I was shopping in the women's section. I went to the men's section. I got another Erin sweater and I love it. And I keep getting compliments on it too. People are like, oh my gosh, like I love your sweater. Where'd you get it? And I'm like, Ireland. But it was definitely, that was another small win. I put out the intention that I wanted an Erin sweater, and I got not only 2 Erin sweaters, but I got one specifically made for me and my own unique clan, which was really fun. So that was another fun little manifestation that I had. That's an illustration that you don't actually have to know exactly what you want in order to manifest what you want. I know that I wanted a sweater from Ireland, and I knew that I wanted it to look good on me, but I didn't actually factor in that I could get a sweater with my clan stitching in it. I didn't even know that existed until I found it. So that was another fun little manifestation that I got in Ireland. Let's see, what else did I get? One small thing, which again, this may not seem like the biggest manifestation, but I did put out the intention that I wanted it and I got it. I wanted another clotter ring, which if you guys aren't familiar, I already have a couple clotter rings, but I wanted another one. Don't ask me why, I just wanted one. A clotter ring is basically this. If it focuses, there we go. So yeah, it's basically this where you have a heart in the middle, a crown, and then it's held with 2 hands. It's very much an Irish like symbol, piece of jewelry. I wanted another one of those. I didn't want anything too fancy. I already have a pure gold version of this. I just wanted something to wear while I was in Ireland, and I didn't bring this one. This one's not from Ireland. But like I said, this wasn't the hardest thing to manifest in Ireland since it's very much an Irish type ring. But I remember the first day, I'm like, I'm gonna go manifest like a clotter ring. And we literally walk outside our Airbnb, and there was this market that was there, and some guy was selling rings, and he had a clotter ring, but not just any clotter ring. He had one that fit me perfectly. My fingers, sometimes I feel like I have issues like finding ring sizes that fit my fingers, and he had one that fit me. It was perfect. And it was the color that I wanted too. And I got it. The reason why I like the story too is because, and actually all of these stories, is how fast you can see reflection when you simply put out an intention and then go with the flow. I literally, before that day started, I was like, I'm going to manifest a clotter ring today. And within a couple minutes of walking outside our Airbnb, we come across a market and some guy selling clotter rings, and I was able to get my clotter ring. So that was another fun little manifestation that I got while in Ireland. And then I have 2 more little manifestations that I had with, manifesting in Ireland. One of them was an accidental manifestation, but I have this happen all the freaking time. And it makes me smile every single time it happens. So the manifestation was, we were out in, we went to the Cliffs of Moher. And so we were not in Galway anymore, but we were just kind of exploring Cliffs of Moher, right? And so while we were like hiking the Cliffs of Moher, I was talking to my family about like YouTube and like all the different people that I met in YouTube. And I started thinking about my friends who I've met through YouTube, but they don't live in Germany anymore, but they're Germans. I call them my German friends. They are my soul sisters. And so I was talking to them. I'm like, yeah, no, I've met incredible people through YouTube. Like I absolutely love it. And I was more specifically aware of them. I actually felt kind of closer to them because I had crossed the Atlantic Ocean. They no longer live in Germany, but I just felt closer to them because I was no longer in the United States. I was actually in like Europe. I was like near where they lived. And so I'm just talking about them, and I'm like thinking all the happy memories that I have with them when we met up. And so, I basically had this whole like conversation with my family about them, only to have them message me an hour later while we were at dinner saying, we miss you. And I was like, no freaking way. Like I still came in contact with them, but we hadn't like texted in a while or messaged each other in a while. And so I was literally like, no way. Like I messaged them back. I'm like, I was literally just talking about you guys to my family. And of course we're like on the same like wavelength. They're like, oh my gosh, the universe is real or whatever. And so we did a little bit of catching up, but I have that experience happen all the time where I think of someone and then they message me. And so that was another one of those, like, I didn't put out an intention, but I was thinking about them and I kind of felt closer to them because Again, I was across the Atlantic Ocean. I was in their vicinity of the world. And they ended up messaging me like literally an hour later. And so that was another manifestation, a small, like kind of accidental manifestation where I actually manifested them reaching out to me and, catching up with them essentially. The last manifestation is actually one of my favorite manifestations. It actually has to do with money. This story in particular, I really enjoyed because it just shows you how money can come back to you in the most surprising ways possible. So when we landed in Ireland, I brought a bunch of USD. I didn't really prep for this trip, if I'm being honest. I brought a bunch of USD and I was like, you know what? I'll probably just like exchange. I'll do the currency exchange at the airport or whatever. And when I got to the airport, something in me was just kind of like, do I really need to like do this? Like I brought my credit card and I have a travel credit card. So I don't get like fees for like purchasing things abroad. And so I was kind of like, I don't want to have to deal with cash. Like I can just put my credit card down and buy stuff that way, right? It's a lot more efficient in my book. And so I decided in the airport not to actually do the exchange essentially. Well, later on in our travels or whatever, there were a bunch of like little markets around and some of them didn't take credit card. And so I was like, crap, I actually need cash or whatever. So I asked my brother who actually did convert. He had a bunch of euros. I'm like, can I borrow some euros or whatever just for this market or whatever? And he's like, sure. So I was going to pay him back and everything like that. I got the euros from him and bought what I wanted at these little markets. What ended up happening was he gave me 50 euros and I was planning on just giving him USD, the equivalent of USD when we got back to the States. And so what ended up happening was when we got back to the airport leaving for the States, we actually had a bunch of these receipts that we could cash in for taxes. And what ended up happening was all of my receipts added up to exactly 50 euro. So in a way, I kind of feel like I got free money. Like the $50 that I borrowed from my brother, I got back at the airport because of the tax forms or because of the tax receipts. And so this was kind of like an accidental manifestation. I actually have this belief that whatever I spend always comes back to me. And I remember when I actually borrowed the money from my brother, I had this thought that like the money's going to come back to me in some way, shape or form. It wasn't that I necessarily didn't have 50 euros to spend in my bank account. It was more so I didn't have the physical paper of it. And so I was he was there for convenience. He just had the physical paper. And I try and be conscious with these beliefs every time I interact with money. So I just put out kind of like a light intention that this money was going to come back to me. And what ended up happening was I manifested 50 euros back through these tax receipts. And so that money that I manifested back was basically the money I paid him back with. And so it was just kind of like a fun little like, wow, like the universe really does reflect what you put out and very quickly. I did not think I was going to manifest I didn't know how it was going to come back to me, but it was just another surprising avenue of how money can come back to you in ways that you don't necessarily plan for or expect initially. I personally love when I get a new avenue of how money comes to me. And this was just another example of like how I got money from my brother and I found a way to unexpectedly get the money to pay him back with. So in a way, I got 50 euro and I didn't have to use any of my own money that I brought in order to pay him back. So I really enjoyed that manifestation as well. As you guys can probably tell with these stories, a lot of them don't really seem like a big deal. They seem like kind of part of everyday life, right? But for me, learning how to create my reality each moment that I want something, putting out an intention and then going with the flow, putting out an intention, letting the universe take me where I need to go in order to see the reflection that I want. That to me, I love experiencing magic like that, experiencing the reflection like that. It's insane how fast things reflect in your reality when you learn how to put out an intention and then go with the flow, or put out an intention and let the universe lead you. A lot of these manifestations, I didn't really have a high level of attachment to them. So it was very easy for me to quote unquote let go and just kind of go with it and then see the reflection nearly immediately in all of these stories. But for me, practicing manifesting, keeping my manifestation muscle open like this and practicing it in small areas of my life like this is the very thing that helps me keep my confidence high with my ability to manifest whatever it is that I want. This trip, the island trip, was awesome in and of itself. There are so many things that we did that I did not cover in today's video, but manifesting things like these quote unquote smaller things not experiencing jet lag when you get to your new place, to manifesting weather changes, to manifesting the perfect sweater or things that you didn't even know you wanted until you actually saw what you wanted, right? Manifesting free money just from an unexpected source, right? All all of these little things, they really do add up, and they will give you the confidence to make you feel like you actually are creating everything in your reality, which you are, whether you feel like it or not. But it's really nice to, again, like I said, put out an intention and see the reflection back. But, the point of this video is just to not only share the stories of like what I manifested in Ireland, but also just kind of illustrate how to go about it in everyday life. Put out the intention, let the universe lead you. Put out the intention, go with the flow. If you can master that art, it's magical how things just kind of show up in expected ways and also in unexpected ways as well. All right. So this video is more of a fun video sharing some of the things that I manifested in Ireland. I hope it inspires you to go out and manifest what you want wherever you are, whether this is a new country or in your everyday life. So I intend that this video helps someone out there. Definitely let me know what you think in the comments below. And as always, keep creating, everyone. I will see you in the next video. Bye.